offenses such as rape, sexual assault, attempted sexual offenses, and conduct sexual offenses. This means there was a drop of over 800 cases of sexual offenses that are far more often perpetrated on women. Rape itself, 9,516 rape cases were opened with SEPs between April and June 2022. This is almost 500 less rape cases reported compared to the same period last year. While rape cases declined in all provinces, the Northwest and Northern Cape provinces are the only provinces to report increases in this crime category. 3,780 of the rapes took place in the homes of the rapist or home of the victim. 1,546 people were raped in public places such as streets, parks, and beaches. Public transportation, such as buses, taxis, and trains, are third most likely places of occurrence for rape cases. It is on this score, the SEPs will continue to prioritize gender-based violence and F-related crimes. Between April and June this year, 286 rapists were convicted through investigative work done by the Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Offences FCS unit. The FCS unit on the SEPs investigates crimes committed against women and children and vulnerable groups. Out of 286 rape convictions, 46 of the rapists were sentenced to life sentence behind bars. While the majority of rapes do take place behind closed doors and are hard to police, we are confident that it is through the FCS detective work that is preventing more rapes, hence the decrease in rape cases during the reporting period. Serial rapists are stopped in their tracks, and such convictions ensure these heartless rapists never rape again. 16 offenders involved in 65 serial sexual offences cases were finalized and convicted. They will be serving a total of 20 life sentences and 886 years imprisonment. Members of the media, SEPS continues to improve and positively respond to what has been declared as pandemic by the President. Evidence collection kits, also known as rape kits and buccal samples kits, continue to be procured and available for all victims of sexual crimes. The establishment of a joint project between the National Prosecuting Authority and SEPS Forensic Science Laboratories continues to focus on the prioritization of court-ready cases where there are outstanding forensic reports. A total of 12,283 cases of rape and murder were prioritized and per request as responded to from August 2021 to July 2022. All three categories of assault have reported decrease. This includes assault GBH, which saw over 7% less cases. Conduct crimes cases were 2,205 less compared to the same period last year. The reduction is inclusive of sexual offences, common robberies, common assault, and assault with intent to grievous bodily harm. All these combined decrease have resulted in 1.5% drop in all conduct crimes. Heightened police actions such as disruptive operations, targeted stop and searches and vehicle control points between April and June 2022 have also meant more firearms, more drugs were taken off the streets. An increased number of domestic violence perpetrators and drunk drivers were arrested as a result of police action during the reporting period. Farm murders also showed a decrease compared to the same comparative period. These decrees are most welcome and are demonstrative outcomes of the work put in by provinces to increase the police footprint in communities. Heightened police visibility is yielding positive results. We are expanding police footprint within limited resources. However, more of this and other operational interventions are still needed to ensure South Africans are safe, especially in public spaces. As the ministry, we maintain that policing is not at police stations, but policing is on the streets where crimes are likely to be prevented. The saturation of the street by law enforcement officers can only work in our favor and translate to safer communities. After all, police must be embedded in the communities which they are serving. Police should be available and be visible at all times. Yes, Commissioner, let's maintain this posture and improve it where possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I have highlighted some successes that have been achieved by the SAPS during the reporting period. However, the number of matters in this country remains high and worrisome. 6,424 people were killed by other persons in South Africa in the first quarter of 2022-2023 financial year. This is an increase of 664 more people murdered compared to the same period last year, when the country was placed under COVID-19 lockdown level 1 and 2. The three main causes of murders remain arguments and misunderstanding. Retaliation and revenge murders were second motive for murder, and vigilantism was the third most likely cause of murder in South Africa. The Umlazi Pesislar police station in KwaZulu-Natal and Umtata station in Eastern Cape registered their highest murder cases during this period. 221 murder cases were reported in those three areas combined. The Police Ministry and SAPS management recently met Umlazi policing structures, traditional and religious leaders, business and the youth in the effort to tighten policing in the area. It is during this engagement that the improvement of police response time and shortage of vehicles and how environmental design impeded policing was raised sharply and is being urgently addressed at the national, provincial and local government level. The multi-stakeholder approach and working closely with the community in Umlazi policing area should have an impact on violent crime if sustained and maintained as agreed. Fighting crime has also come at a cost for members of the South African of the SAPS across the country. 18 police officers were killed during this reporting period. 13 less police officers were killed during this reporting period. Any attack on police officer is an attack on the state and should be condemned from all quarters. Firearms are three times likely to be the weapon of choice in all reported murders. 2,766 people were shot to death. 912 of murders happened in KwaZulu-Natal, followed by Gauteng province with 697 deaths attributed to firearms. 498 people died from gunshot wounds in the Western Capes. The expansion of illegal firearms and the damage and destruction they can cause is well documented. These crime statistics should be used as a management tool to guide the operational plans to deal with, amongst other crimes, the proliferation of firearms. Police operational responses nationwide should continue to remove guns that are in the wrong hands. The SAPS investigated 284 dockets of multiple murders with 664 victims. The KwaZulu province recorded the highest number of multiple murders, followed by Gauteng and the Eastern Cape, in which two of more victims were killed at one time. The majority of these matters were committed with firearms. Provincial commissioners, while more work needs to be done, it is encouraging that arrests are being made in this regard. The Western Cape has made inroads in arresting a man who is believed to be the mastermind behind the extortion-related multiple murders in areas around Cape Town Metropole. More suspects have also been arrested and are going through the court processes, answering to the alleged roles related to the multiple murders. Fellow citizens, all communities must join hands in having a zero-tolerance approach when it comes to the crimes committed against women and children. The reporting period of April to June shows that South Africa was brutal and dangerous for women and children. Violent crimes committed against women and children recorded alarmingly high and unacceptable level. From April to June 2022, 855 women and 243 children were killed in South Africa. Over 11,000 assault GBH cases with female victims were opened with the police. 1,670 such cases involved children. Police are investigating attempted murder dockets of over 1,400 women and children who escaped death. Ladies and gentlemen, it is disturbingly worrying that 19 child murders took place at the institutions of learning. This includes daycare facilities, primary and high school tertiary institutions. Visits to the police stations conducted by Police Ministry remains an integral part of our work to better improve service delivery and at the station level. With every police station visited by this ministry and SAP's management, the availability of liquor in many communities is always a common occurrence. The fact is, the more liquor outlets there are in the community, case of conduct crimes will also be very high. Liquor remains one of the biggest contributors of crime. Just yesterday, we engaged residents of Khayelitsha together with the role players in the liquor industry to raise awareness and at the same time address liquor as a crime contributor. We cannot accept that as a nation that 227 people between April and June 2022 were killed in places of entertainment such as taverns, pubs and bars. In 749 murder cases, liquor was involved. The reality is that liquor was during the reporting period involved in over 4,000 cases of assault and GBH. In 1,212 rape cases, alcohol was involved during commission of this crime. We urge communities, civil society, religious organizations, and various community organizations to look at addressing the role liquor is playing in the communities and as the crime contributor. Such conservation combined with awareness program and action by SAPS are important and do lead to prevention of many violent crimes. We'll continue to work with all stakeholders, including the industry, to mitigate this kind of actions. I wish to commend, in closing, all provincial commissioners for the significant reduction in a number of priority crimes during this reporting period. In particular, Mpumalanga Province, under the leadership of Lieutenant General Daphne Manamela. The Mpumalanga Province recorded decreases in all conduct crimes such as sexual offences, attempted murder, assault, GBH, common assault, common robbery, and robbery with aggravating circumstances. Allow me to quickly highlight some reduction achieved by the province. During April and June, Mpumalanga Province recorded a 2.5% decrease in murder cases. A 9.7% drop in sexual offences was also noted. Trio crimes recorded double-digit decreases. A 33.3% drop in cash in cash in transit robberies. Car hijacking figures in Mpumalanga decreased by 23.4%. Mpumalanga province owes the reduction to high province visibility and intelligence-led operations in crime hotspots. We further encourage all province commissioners to continue to increase their efforts in crime prevention and crime combating operations. Most importantly, community policing partnership and expanding the eyes and ears of law enforcement on the ground must be intensified. We also encourage South Africans to work with the police and provide information that can assist in police investigation. Police at station level are also directed to continue to improve the quality of service provided to the communities they serve and protect. Iphoyisa ngumphakathi. This combination will work in improving the overall burden of crime in all communities, and working together will make life better. After all, everyone has a role to play towards lowering the crime in the country. With these opening remarks, allow me to hand over to Major General Skukuni, who will give us a presentation which will reflect an overview of the figures come this year. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Minister of Police, General Bheki Cele, Deputy Minister, Mr. Matale, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service, General Fanima Samola, the Acting Deputy National Commissioner of Police. Speak up. Should I start again? No. Okay. The National Head of the DPCI, General Lebeya, members of the media, the community at large. I'll be taking you through the police recorded crime statistics covering the period from the 1st of April up to June 2022. Without wasting time, I know that you are interested in this particular table. This is the table that we normally start with. We prefixed it with the levels of COVID lockdown, where in 2018 we had a situation where there was no lockdown. 2019 we were in the pre-COVID. In 2020 we were at level 5, 4, and 3. And if you look at that particular column, that is the column where we recorded the least number of crimes across all the 5 years, meaning that the level lockdowns did have an impact on the crimes that had been reported to the police during that particular period. Then moving to 2021, we were under level lockdown 1 and 2, and as you see there, we have a slight increase. Then under 2022, which is the current period, we were under no lockdown level restrictions. Now, if you look at that particular table, starting with the murders that had been reported to the South African Police Service, we have had 6,424 murders reported to the police, resulting in 664 cases, a percentage increase of 11.5. The second offense is sexual offenses, where we had 11,855 counts reported to the police, a reduction of 847 counts, a percentage reduction of 6.7. The third crime is attempted murder. We recorded 5,576, an increase of 431, a percentage increase of 8.4. Then assault with intent to commit grievous bodily harm, 34,635 counts were reported to the police. A reduction of 2,895 was realized, a percentage reduction of 7.7% decrease. Then common assault, we had 38,627, a decrease of 779, resulting in a percentage reduction of 2. Then common robbery, we had 10,565, a reduction of 136, a percentage realized of 1.3 reduction. Then robbery with aggravating circumstances, we reported 35,233, an increase of 1,357, a percentage increase of 4.0%. Overall, the total contact crimes decreased by 2,205. That is a 1.5% decrease. That is, in total, we have recorded from 145,120 to 142,915, resulting in 2,205 counts less, a percentage reduction of 1.5. The second column, which talks to total sexual offenses, it has already been explained at the column in row 2, where we had seen that the total sexual offenses have reduced by 6.7%. This is made up of a reduction of 490 rapes, a reduction of 193 sexual assault cases, a reduction of 98 attempted sexual offenses, a reduction of 66 contact sexual offenses, resulting in overall 847 counts of sexual offenses less than the previous comparable period. Robbery with aggravating circumstances is the second last column before the total contact crimes there. We saw that it increased by 1,357, a percentage change of 4.0. It's made up of carjacking, which has increased by 720, robbery at residential premises increased by 24, robbery at non-residential premises increased by 26, robbery of cash in transit increased by 14. Then we had one less case of bank robbery compared to the previous period, and then we had 97 counts of truck hijacking. In the next slide, we look at what is called per capita. That is, we take into consideration the total population of the country and the crime that had been reported to the South African Police Service, only those that affect or where the victim is a human being. Then we divide that by the total population of the country. This is a standard measure that is used when you do comparison, especially on contact crimes. Looking at murder in 2018, we had 8 per 100,000. The population at that point in time was 57,746,000. Then in 2019, we had 9 per 100,000. The population at that point in time was 58,616,000. Then in 2020, we had 6 per 100,000, taking into consideration that we are also at level 5, 4, and 3 of COVID regulations, and the population was 59,435,000. Then in 2021, we had 10 per 100,000. The population was 60,065,000. Then in 2020, we had 11 per 100,000. The population was 60,726,000. Of course, I rounded off the figures and just gave the rounded figure for the millions and the 100,000s. These estimates were obtained from the 2021 series of the mid-year population estimates as received from Statistics South Africa. Continuing on that particular trend, what we have observed is that as the per 100,000 increased, so did the population. And that gives you a fair comparison in terms of what actually are the murder ratios when you take into consideration the population in the country. Continuing on that particular trend, I'll just try to hurry up. We had a reduction of 43 contact-related crimes, resulting in a 0.2% decrease. Property-related crimes decreased by 285. We had in 2021, 91,604. Currently, we had 91,319, a reduction of 285, a percentage change of 0.3. The crimes that have increased within property-related crimes was burglary at non-residential and burglary at residential premises, both increasing by 50 and 161 counts respectively. Theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle, theft out of motor vehicle or motorcycle and stock theft all decreased by 98, 97 and 301 respectively, resulting in a 285 decrease when you take into consideration all the 5 crimes making up this category of property-related crimes. Other serious crimes, we had a decrease in shoplifting. The other crimes in that particular category increased. Then the last block there, which is called crimes detected as a result of police action, it's a proxy for proactive policing, and it is not only the crimes that are detected by police action, because at some stage when I explained that crime detected as a result of a police action are proxy for proactive policing, they said only these 4 crimes, and which was not the case. These are some of the crimes that have been classified as crime detected as a result of police action. But it does not mean that when police discover a person who's about to commit a crime, which is like an assault GBH, they can't intervene. So these are just indicated as that for this particular group of crimes. Then in this one, we'll go into the details of contact crimes covering murder, rape, robbery, aggravating circumstances, because all the other crimes you have already indicated how we have performed in terms of the bigger table that we had indicated. Now, the contact crimes, for the 3 months, we had recorded a decrease in the month of April of 4,047, and then an increase of 1 in May, then 1,841 in June. Then the province that had reported the highest number of contact crimes was the province of Gauteng with 40,332. The second highest was the Western Cape with 25,178. The third highest was KwaZulu-Natal with 24,537. And the fourth was Eastern Cape with 15,752. The province that have recorded increases was the province of Limpopo, Northwest, and the Western Cape. Then the top 30 stations in terms of the contact crimes, we have 9 of the stations coming from the province of the Western Cape, led there by Nyanga. Then we had 12 stations from the Gauteng province. Then we had 6 stations from the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and we also had 3 stations in the province of Limpopo, those ones being Thohoyandou at number 24, then Mankweng and Seshego at number 29 and 30 respectively. Then what is worth noting is that 16 of these top 30 stations recorded decreases within the current reporting period, with the highest decrease being recorded in Umlazi, which is at number 13 there. That is a reduction of 196 counts of contact crimes. Then going specifically into the murders, which is also part of the contact crimes, we had recorded increases across the 3 months making up the reference period. That is 30 in the month of April, 215 in the month of May, 419 in the month of June, and the highest number of murders were reported in the province of KwaZulu-Natal with 1,623. The second highest was the province of Gauteng with 1,490. The third highest was Eastern Cape with 1,200 murders. And 3 provinces that have recorded decreases in the crime of murder were Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and the Northern Cape. And overall, we had an increase of murder of 664 counts more than the previous comparable period. Top 30 stations within the crime of murder. 9 of those top 30 stations are in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, 8 are in the province of Gauteng. Western Cape contributed 10 stations to that top 30, and then the Eastern Cape, we had 3 stations from the Eastern Cape. The number 1 and 2 is Umlazi and Plessis Layer. The third was Umtata Station in the Eastern Cape. 4, we had Inanda in the KwaZulu-Natal, and 5, we had Delft in the Western Cape. Now, this particular slide, I have already indicated to it, whereby we had the per 100,000 when we compared at the national level. Now, at this point in time, we compared the murders that had been reported in the provinces, taking into consideration the population within those particular provinces. Because if you were to report only on the raw number murders that had been reported in that particular province, you would miss the important aspect of the fact that different provinces have different population sizes. So to bring a standardized comparison across the provinces, you take into consideration the population within that respective province, and you compute your per 100,000. Now, using that particular analogy, the province of Eastern Cape was the one which indicated that it had the highest murder ratio of 18 per 100,000, meaning that out of a population of 100,000, the chances of a person ending up being a victim of murder within the province of the Eastern Cape is 18 per 100,000. The second highest was KwaZulu-Natal with 14 per 100,000, which is closer to the Western Cape with also 14 per 100,000. Gauteng was the 4th highest with 9 per 100,000. If you round off the 9.3 to the closest digit, then it will give you 9 per 100,000. Then Free State is 8 per 100,000. Mpumalanga, Northwest, and the Northern Cape would give you 6 per 100,000, and the lowest probability is in the province of Limpopo with 4 per 100,000. Now, looking at the causative factors in terms of what contributed to the murders, from the sample size of 6,106, which is around 90% of the samples of the murders that had been recorded in the country. The minister has already indicated that most of the murders emanated from arguments, misunderstanding, and road rage. These were indicated as the causative factors in 898 of the murders, and the highest province where these arguments happened was in the province of KwaZulu-Natal with 259. The second highest province that indicated arguments as the causative factor for murder was the province of the Western Cape with 195. Then the third was Gauteng with 146. Eastern Cape was 4 with 99. Then going further down there, where we look at gang-related murders, we have had in this period 176 of the murders attributable to gang-related crimes. Of these, 161 were in the province of the Western Cape. The second was the Eastern Cape with 7, and Gauteng was the third with 3. Taxi-related murders were indicated as a causative factor in the province of Gauteng with 40. Then the second was Western Cape. The second was KZN with 25, Western Cape with 19, and then the fourth was Eastern Cape with 6. Then second from the bottom, we had rape-related murders. These are instances whereby the rape had been committed and the victim of the rape was unfortunately killed. We had 24 of those instances whereby the victims ended up being killed, when then the highest of those were in the province of KwaZulu-Natal with 12. The second highest was Eastern Cape with 5. Then the Northwest was number 3 with 4. Then taking into consideration or looking at the places where the rape occurred, they are already sorted in terms of highest occurrence using the variable murder there. Most of the murders happened in public places, that is in the street, open field, recreational center, park, beach, and abandoned buildings that contributed to 2,733. The second highest contributing place was at the residence of the perpetrator or victim. The third was in the mode of transport. Fourth was liquor outlets, shebeens, that is 227. Then the rest can be seen from that particular table. Now, looking at the crimes against women and children, what one observes here is that the collective of women and children contributed around 18% to the murders that had been reported to the country. 13% of all the people killed were women, that is 855, and 4% were children. Then in terms of the raw numbers, the murders of women increased by 297, and those of children increased by 77. Then the attempted murders of women increased by 282, and those of children by 61. Assault GBH 4,149, and those of children by 616. Then the phenomenon which also contribute is not the exclusive contributor to the murders that we are seeing, is the fact that there are instances whereby multiple people are killed in one incident. And we brought this table to highlight the fact that some of these murders, they exponentially increase in one sitting. Because if you look at the number of, the first column indicates the count of victims that succumbed in a particular one incident. If you look at 6, we had one incident whereby 6 people were killed in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And then we had also one incident where 6 people were killed in the province of the Western Cape. Where 5 people succumbed, we had one incident in the Eastern Cape, one incident in the KwaZulu-Natal province. So those incidents resulted, the 5 resulted in 10 murders more. The 6 resulted in 12 murders more, in plus minus 4 incidents. Then, when we look at the murders of police officials, we had, in the current quarter, we had 18 police officers that had succumbed to murder. Of those, 10 were killed while they were off duty, and 8 were killed while they were on duty. And when you compare to the same period in the previous comparable period, this is a reduction in terms of the number of police officials that were killed of 13. In 2021, we had 31 police officers killed, and currently we had 18 police officers who had been killed. Then looking at the farming community, we had a reduction of 4, whereas in the previous comparable period, we had 14 murders in the farming community. In the current period, we had 10. The resulting was a reduction of 4. Now, the instruments that were used frequently to commit the murder, this is not an exhaustive list. These are the incidents of crimes whereby a particular type of weapon was used more frequently than any other type of weapon. Because people will then add up these and say, but they don't add to 6,464 of the murders that we had reported. We only took those instruments that are most frequently used in the commission of the murders. And as you can see from there, the weapon of choice that is used in the commission of the murders is the firearm which was indicated to have been used in 2,766. And one of the things that maybe I need to caution as you are listening is that this does not necessarily imply that 2,766 firearms were used. You saw in the last slide that there were instances where many people were killed in one incident. They could have been killed by one weapon. So when you look at this, this simply indicates the weapon that was used, and there is not a one-to-one relation between the incidents where people were killed with the number of firearms. It does not mean that 2,766 firearms were killed as if each person was killed with a firearm individually. Then knives was the second highest weapon of choice that had been used, then sharp instruments in 444 incidents. Then the scourge of rape, we had recorded decreases across the 3 months of the reporting period, that is in April, May, and June. And as the Minister has already indicated, the 2 provinces that had recorded increases was the province of Northwest and the Northern Cape. The other provinces recorded decreases. Then in terms of the top 30 stations, we had 7 of the stations in KZN, we had 6 stations in Eastern Cape, then we had also 6 stations in Limpopo. Then the highest number of rapes were recorded in the station of Inanda in KwaZulu-Natal. Number 2 was Lisukisiki in the Eastern Cape. 3 was Delft, 4 Empangeni in KwaZulu-Natal, and Thohoyandou at number 5, making up the top 5 stations in terms of the rapes. Then looking at the places where the rapes occurred, again, we took from a sample of 6,330 rapes that had been reported to the police, and then we looked at the places that were most frequently. Something changed here. Okay, just gone back, it's fine. So the most rapes were indicated to have taken place at the residence of the perpetrator. The second highest was at the public place. The third highest was in the mode of transport. We also had some of the rapes happening at educational institutions, that is at school, university, colleges, and day centers. And then zooming into those that had happened in the educational premises, we had 53 of the rapes having happened at the basic education schools, that is your lower, higher primary, secondary, etc. And then 15 of the murders happened in such facilities. And in some instances, these rapes are rapes whereby a learner rapes another learner, etc. So it takes into consideration all the rapes that had been reported within that particular facility. Then in terms of the liquor outlets, the Minister has already indicated that the issue of the use and abuse of alcohol also has a significant contribution to the crimes, especially the contact crimes, whereby we had indicated that 227 of the murders have been indicated to have taken place at a place where alcohol is being sold, and assault GBH was 2,705. At the bottom graph, these are instances that might not have necessarily happened at a facility where alcohol is being sold, but through the statement, it had been indicated that either the victim or the perpetrator had used alcohol or drugs prior to the commission of the crime that we had indicated there. In 749 of the murders, it was indicated that alcohol was used and 25 drugs were used. Assault GBH 140, drugs were used, and 4,044 assault GBH, alcohol was used. Again, specifically zooming at those murders that happened at those particular facilities. Again, firearms was the highest or the preferred weapon of choice in the commission of those murders and also the second highest was the knives. Then moving on to domestic related, these are crimes whereby it had been indicated that there is some kind of a relationship between the victim and the perpetrator, either being girlfriend, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, uncle, or whatever the domestic relationship one can think of. Now, looking at that, we had 201 of the murders have been being indicated that they were committed by people who were in a domestic relationship. Of those 201, 106 of the victims were female and 95 were male. And the highest province that had recorded domestic murders was the province of KwaZulu-Natal with 44. The second highest was the Eastern Cape. Then the third highest was Gauteng with 34 and the Western Cape with 31. Now, looking at the trio crimes, these are the crimes that are made up of carjacking, robbery res, and robbery non-residential. We have already indicated in the big table how these crimes have changed over the period. Now, I will just quicken the pace and just touch on a few. Across all the months, we have recorded increases. The provinces that had recorded decreases within the trio crimes that is made up of carjacking, robbery res, and robbery non-res is the Free State, Mpumalanga, and the Northwest. Then the top 30 stations in terms of the trio crime, the leading stations, I think top 3 are all in the province of the Western Cape, Nyanga, Harare, and Philippi East. Number 4 was Plessis Liar in KwaZulu-Natal, and Pretoria West at number 5 in Gauteng. Then in terms of carjacking, we again recorded increases across all the 3 months. The only province that had recorded a decrease in terms of carjacking was the province of Mpumalanga. All the other provinces recorded increases. Then in terms of carjacking, the top 30 stations, 22 of these stations in terms of carjacking are in the province of Gauteng, 5 are in the province of the Western Cape, and 3 are in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Then robbery at non-residential premises, we recorded increases in the month of May and June, whereas in the month of April we recorded a decrease. In the provinces that had recorded decreases in terms of robbery at non-res is KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, and the Northwest. Then the top 30 stations in terms of robbery at non-residential premises, they are led by Johannesburg Central at number 1, Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal at number 2, East London at number 3 in the Eastern Cape, Durban Central in KwaZulu-Natal, and Pretoria West at number 5 in Gauteng. Then robbery at residential premises, again we recorded increases in the month of May and June, and we recorded decreases in the Free State, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Northwest, Northern Cape, and the Western Cape. Then the top 30 stations in the robbery at residential premises, they are led there by 3 stations again in the KwaZulu-Natal, that is Plessis Liar, Umlazi, and Inanda Kahiso in Gauteng at number 4, and Kwadukuza at number 5, making up the top 5 stations, of which 4 of those 5 are in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Cash in transit robberies, we have recorded increases across all the months from April, May, and June, and the provinces that recorded decreases was the Free State, Mpumalanga, and the Northern Cape. Then in terms of truck hijacking, again we had recorded increases across the month of April, May, and June, and then we can see which of the provinces recorded decreases and increases. Then Orange Farm in Gauteng was the leading station in terms of truck hijacking. Number 2 was Acacia, number 3 was Kempton Park, Dalmas in Mpumalanga at number 4, and Bronkhorstspruit at number 5, making up the top 5. Then the kidnapping, we had recorded increases across the 3 months, April, May, and June, and the only decrease was recorded in the province of the Western Cape. And overall, we had an increase of 1,318 incidents of kidnapping. The top 30 stations are led there again by mostly stations in the province of Gauteng, Vosloorus, Kempton Park, JP, Rietgat, and Boysen making up the top 5. Then causative factors that can be established from the kidnapping circumstances. In most of the incidences, it was indicated that the kidnapping happened jointly with the hijacking. That will be in an incident whereby the driver has been robbed of a car and then he is denied the freedom of movement, irrespective for how long a period. That will also then result in a case of kidnapping. The second was robbery related. Then the third highest was rape-related kidnappings. Of course, we had those that had happened in a domestic relationship. That would be in an instance whereby the ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, and whatever kidnaps the wife for whatever purposes that they have in mind, etc. We also had kidnappings for ransom, which resulted in 86 of the cases, and 44 of those were in the province of Gauteng with 44. Then the second highest was in Mpumalanga with 9, and the Eastern Cape with 3. Then we had the issue of stock theft, whereby we recorded decreases across all the months. That is 81 in April, 129 in May, and 91 in the month of June. And the only provinces that had recorded increases was the province of Gauteng, Limpopo, and the Northwest. Then top 30 stations in terms of stock theft are led by Tsolo. Second was Amangwe. Third was Kumbu. Fourth was Mtata. And number 5, Utrecht in KwaZulu-Natal, making up the top 5 stock theft stations. Then we had what are called core diversion issues. These are instances whereby the resources at the disposal of the police are diverted to go and do other things other than fighting and preventing crimes. This will be instances whereby people are marching and the police are summoned to go and police those marches, etc., etc. So you can see that these are diverting the resources of the police in terms of performing their core mandate, which is crime prevention. They also need to make sure that at these marches, etc., there is limited malicious damage to property and the people are behaving in an appropriate manner, etc. Most of these, the blue indicates those incidents whereby the marches were peaceful, and the green indicates whereby they also resulted in unrest. And most of the peaceful ones was in the province of Gauteng with 446 KZN 378, and those that were unrest, most were in the province of KwaZulu-Natal with 180, and then Gauteng was the second highest with 170. Now, we have done the briefing of the crime stats. This here is what is called a pre-release calendar, indicating all the upcoming releases of crime statistics for the whole 2023 financial year. We will be releasing the second quarter of the crime statistics on the 18th of November. Then the third quarter will be released on the 17th of February, and then the fourth quarter will be released on the 19th of May 2023. This is in line with the prescripts of the South African Statistical Quality Assessment Framework, whereby they indicate that a quarterly release or a release that covers a reference period of a quarter should at most be released within 8 weeks after the end of the reference period. And as you can see there, we are doing it within 7 weeks of the reference period. And that is just a more clearly visible one. It will be uploaded on the SAPS website together with the presentation and all the other accompanying documents that goes with the release of crime statistics. I thank you.
Thank you very much, General Skokune. And just to reinforce that message, please do check out our website, www.saps.gov.za, and of course it does have all the information as the General has alluded to. That will encompass the presentation as well as the opening remarks by the Minister of Police. And of course, check out on all our social media platforms under crime stats, hashtag crime stats. So with that, let's open up the floor to some questions, ladies and gentlemen of the media. I already see a hand. We are going to start with questions in-house, and then we'll also take some questions that are on WhatsApp through the help of our GCIS colleague, Upeliswa. I do see a hand over there. I don't see any other hands in the house. Okay, let's start with you, my sister. Go ahead.
I just want to find out, we welcome the decreases. We just want to find out how to decrease, why we're seeing the decreases in terms of the lockdown, the coming out of lockdown. And then the second question, Minister, I don't know if you saw the DA campaign yesterday about hashtag #MustGo. We just want to know, how do you feel about this, and do you have any comments from anybody? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mariska. Anyone else? 1, 2, go ahead. Pule.
Quick question, how far are you in terms of the investigation with the non-crime targets?
All right, let me just take one more hand. Okay, I think those are the two questions in-house, Minister. We will take those answers and then we'll go to our WhatsApp line for further questions. Over to you, Minister.
Well, exactly how, for now, we'll just celebrate that there is a going down on these sexual offenses. But in the narratives that one brought, we showed that there is an increase on the arrest. The number in 3 months has been quite high. 46 people getting life sentences and more than 800 years and all that. But also, you must remember that it's not the whole nation that commit these offenses against women. Sometimes it could be the small number of people. As you saw at the number, 16 of those are habitual sex offenders or repeat sex offenders that you call serial. Maybe arresting more of those serial people will reduce the number going out there. But also, we would be working with the communities and all that, especially the families and the communities. We shall not underplay the role the families, communities, friends, and all that are playing going to this. We believe that our offensive, especially this department, when it comes to the outreach programs, might be giving some good answers when you meet, as we have said, that even Umlazi, we have been there last week, which is one of the high crime stations and all that. I think that also maybe South Africans beginning to listen, and the concentration on men, and that's a call we're making, that we need to have a concentration, because the abuse of women is less or zero to do with women themselves. It's got all to do with men. When more men speak to men, maybe we might have some results. I've been answering this question of DA for million years, man. It's very interesting that they are. I don't know whether that's a mobile billboard. I think it's a mobile billboard. It's very interesting that they put that rape, happy, and all that kind of stuff. And that is 3 weeks ago. The campaign against Cele of DA started almost 2 years ago. So it's interesting that they come with this as the thing. And it has been explained, and I'm sure journalists here and everybody would know, that when Cele was asked by one of the channels that is here, what is an issue that happened in Krugersdorp, it was put in a content and context to say, one woman was raped by 10 people, one by 8, one by 6, one by 4. The 19-year-old, it was lucky. And in the same sentence, that is never quoted in any DA document. It was lucky if it was lucky. That's how the statement. I've urged that put that quotation proper. I say it was lucky if it was lucky. That was within the context of balance said with a full understanding, by the way, that it could not be the lucky even that one woman. But there are people that are raped 10 and all that. So that's an issue. It's interesting, but I don't know how much that billboard will take in terms of money. Yesterday I was in Western Cape. It was cold and very wet. And many people in Western Cape, they could not sleep in their rooms, in their shacks, because they were full of water. That, we all know that. Maybe that money could have worked better, there. They could not, the people there, like South Africa, they don't have work, they don't have, there are potholes, it's dark there, there is no electricity, there is nothing. Maybe that money could have worked better on that one. Maybe another thing, what their lady has said in Bloemfontein when she resigned, said, black people, DA has a problem, is ill-treating black people. Maybe they've run short of the targets that are their members, and they find targets somewhere else. And if they are really serious about this thing, their leader, they should have dealt with him, because they abused the woman who worked in his office, who was the wife of somebody, because was working in his office and was a junior member there. Whatever pressure was put to become his wife. So if they are very concerned about these issues of abuse of women, I will find it a very high offensive thing that a junior person who is a woman working in my office, I will put those pressure to such an extent that will leave your original marriage and marry the new boss on that. So the people like Mazzoni and all who are very worried about this matter, I think they must start home to deal with this matter. The other thing maybe that they need to deal with is the mayor of the city. They must be dealing with those such events. They've got much to deal with really, rather than spending their time, energy in that. Is their right to do it? But Cele and women issues is just known, and were there to fight hard. At no stage, under no circumstances, that the issues of women abuse will be undermined. And let's make a call to say, whatever we're fighting on, whatever the hate on, please don't use these serious matters to fight your political games and increase your political scores. Is a painful thing. Worse, some of us, like myself, I did go to see this woman. I saw how traumatized they are. We're working hard that life is better. So please, when you come to politics, don't bring the issues of women as your political score point. Thanks.
Yes, Minister, there was that question around the Namhla case, which the National Commissioner will respond to. I believe there are more questions that are directed to the National Commissioner. Pelisa, could you take us through those questions, please? You are audible.
It was about 3 questions from allegation 24. He's asking, the first one is saying, noting the drop on sexual offences cases, does police have data on the underreporting of these crimes, specifically rape? If so, what is the underreporting in terms of percentages? The second question he's asking is, additionally, of the 9,516 rape cases open, how many arrests have been made? How many of those matters have ended up in court? And how many convictions vis-a-vis withdrawals? Now, his last question says, as for the murder statistics, how many arrests have been made in reference to the murder cases open during this time? How many have gone to court? How many have been withdrawn? And how many convictions? That's Alex Meeting 4. The second question, and I think it is the last at the stage that we have on WhatsApp, it comes from Carpelo from UFM. He's asking, on having to deploy police resources to activities that are not, just how concerned are the police forces about having to deploy to ANC conferences and meetings within and without for possible violence that is essentially the business of a private entity? Surely that happens at the expense of the business crime fighting group. That is the end of the second question you have on WhatsApp. Thank you.
Thank you, Peliswa. Thank you so much, Peliswa. Let me just take a last sweep on the floor, and then we can just wrap up the Q&A. I think we're good in Pretoria. General Masemola, there are some questions directed to you, and then we'll have the last bite from the Minister. Thank you, General.
Thanks, Lorenzo and everybody. The case of Namhla, it is still under investigation. There has been some other cases added to it, and the provincial team has been beefed up by the national team led by Major General Motsepe. We are still on course in that investigation. Do we have figures on the number of cases not reported? Obviously, we will not have those figures. We only deal with the reported cases to the South African Police Service. We definitely will not know how many were not reported. Convictions in terms of rape cases, we do have quite a lot of successes in this regard. One can take, in terms of people that were convicted for about from 1 to 9 years, the sentences ranges up to 879 years, and the number of accused over 134,000, and it goes on including from 10 to 19 years, 20 years, and lives. We have quite a number, over 6,000 people that are doing lives. But yes, we do acknowledge that the wheel of justice is not as fast as people would have loved to see. It takes quite long to resolve these cases countrywide. And in terms of withdrawals, we do not have them, but take note that these cases, GBV cases, are not withdrawn. Police are not allowed to withdraw those cases. They can only be withdrawn at court or by the prosecutor. Police don't withdraw cases. And in terms of deployment to other activities, we do deploy whenever there are activities. Doesn't matter which party is having an activity. But also take note that we do have an obligation as South African Police Service, wherever we have our head of state and our deputy head of state and ministers and MECs, we have an obligation to make sure that they are safe at that specific event, with regardless of whose event it is that. We have got an obligation to make sure that they are safe while they are at that event. We are not taken there by a specific party. I think those are the questions that were asked.
Okay. I believe that's it, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, General, DM, and everyone present. Thank you so much for your time, and we bring this press conference to a close. Thank you.